Us women, we spend thousands of dollars on hair, nails, makeup, beauty care, wrinkle creams, anything that will help us be more attractive, anything that will help us with our beauty. But not enough of us speak about our voices. Your voice is a huge gateway to seduction. Your voice is so important because it can really seduce a man. It can really make you appear more attractive than you are. It can really get a man to do more things for you. It can get a man to want to spoil you. The way that I'm speaking to you guys right now is the way that I speak to my friends. The way I'm speaking right now is not a way to speak to a man. With this kind of voice that I'm using right now, the most I will get is a lunch. When I speak to men, my voice is a lot higher. My voice sounds a lot more excited. And for everyone, it's different. You have to figure out what your voice is like and what men find seductive about your voice. If men are complimenting your voice and saying your voice sounds sweet or it sounds nice, it's a good thing. It's a really, really good thing, and what you're doing is correct. If men have not yet complimented your voice, it means you have work to do. Because some of you women, literally, you speak like men, your voice is super low, and I understand that some women come with that condition, so that I don't want to judge. I don't know what you can do with that. I know many women who do have low voices, who have changed it into a much higher tone, and that sometimes women can work on that. Sometimes women can't do anything about that. But right now I'm going to speak to the women that can do something about that. And we're going to go over some women that have a very seductive voice. And there's a different variety, like Marilyn Monroe is of course going to be one of them. But there's different women out there who have a lower tone and still sound very feminine and very seductive. It's also important for me to mention that the people that you're around really do matter because your voice is going to be similar to theirs. The way that your mother speaks, you might speak the way she speaks. The way your friends speak, you might speak the way they speak. So if your friends are, very snobby or they're more like weak women or pick-me women, you're going to speak like them. If you're, maybe if your mom is loud and every time she talks she has to yell, you might start yelling. If maybe your friends talk too fast, you might start rapping. We typically become what we surround ourselves with. So if certain people speak a certain way, usually we kind of catch on to that and start speaking the way they do without noticing it. So if that's you and that's your case, listen to this video as well and really try to think of a way to change it, because trust me, having a seductive voice is the best. And really, I'm telling you, the amount of things you can get out of having a seductive voice is insane. As soon as someone hears your voice, they already choose how they're going to treat you. People choose how they'll treat you based off your voice. And I think that Love is Blind is a great example. For the people who don't know what Love is Blind is, it's basically a bunch of people who can't see the person's face. There's like a wall between them, and they have to get to know a person.
Hello.
Nice to hear from you. Can't say see ya
without ever seeing them.
What are some of your biggest turnoffs?
So what are you looking for in a woman?
Ethnicity, race, physical appearance. None of that matters.
So on this show, people spoke behind closed doors. They didn't get to see who they're talking to, and they speak to multiple people. They try to choose their partner or the person that they're going to marry based off conversation alone. So these people are trying to figure out, do our personalities match? Do we have the same values, the same mindset? Is our conversation flowing? It's kind of like choosing a person based off their personality or based off the communication, I guess. Now, the show's attempt was to rule out the superficial traits. They wanted people to not choose based off appearances, and they wanted people to be chosen based off conversation. The biggest flaw on the show is that someone's voice is a huge part of their sexual attraction. As soon as someone hears your voice, they already make assumptions on your personality. There's even been a study where people were receiving a bunch of pictures of faces, and then they had a tape recorder, basically playing different voices. And 70% of them were accurately matching the voices to the faces. There's even been another study where people were able to match someone's weight, height, and age just based off their voice alone. People will even judge how trustworthy you are based off the half second of your first sentence that comes out of your mouth. So the type of people that I personally have an issue with is people who talk way too fast, like a rapper almost, because they give me this vibe of they're dominant, threatening, frantic. I don't even know if they know what they're talking about or if they're just talking fast so that I wouldn't even hear a word that they have to say. Another person would be somebody who talks too loud. When a person talks too loud, I just find it annoying, and it just feels like they don't know how to get other people's attention without yelling. Someone who talks too quiet gives me the vibe that they don't know what they're talking about. Like, they're unsure if what they're saying is actually true. Someone who talks too slow, now I don't know why. I've heard some people say that, oh, successful people, they talk slow, they talk super slow. If you talk super slow, I can't. You know, I'm going to be nice and I'll respect you if we're outside. I'm obviously not going to tell you to hurry up and talk faster. But if I run into your channel and you talk way too slow, I lost my patience. You know what I mean? Unless you're an old person, that's the only excuse you can have. If you're a young person and you speak slow, you already give the vibe that you're much older than you really are. You need to know the difference between someone who's slow and confident and someone who's way too slow, like snail slow. You don't want to be way too slow when you have a conversation. Your goal should be that every time he reads your texts or every time he thinks of you, thinks of you talking to him, dreams of you, he remembers the sound of your voice. Every time he reads your text messages, he's reading it and it's like your voice is talking in his head. That is what you want. Now, I'm going to put up some voices that are not seductive, are not feminine, and I feel bad for using these women in this video because I just couldn't think straight off my head like women who have a lower voice, even though I know plenty. I just couldn't think of any right now, so I had to do my research on YouTube, and unfortunately I had to find women who have a condition. Like these women that I'm pointing out right now, one of them has it from cancer, the other one I can't remember, so they can't change it. But I know plenty of women who do have these kind of voices and have also changed it.
Well, it's
okay,
perfect.
so I also want to explain my attire, James.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
I can't believe that you're like dressed nicer than I am. That's wrong. So during COVID, I gained 20 pounds. So now that I'm like a big lady, I'm curvy. Yeah, I'm a plus size model now. And so now I can't fit into any of my like size 2 stuff. So now I just wear Gucci tracksuits.
So let's pretend we're on Love is Blind, okay? We don't see her face, there's a wall, and we hear this voice, If a man was to hear this, or even a woman, usually the vibe you're gonna get is maybe somebody that's old, maybe somebody who's not healthy, because this kind of voice usually comes out of people who smoke a lot. And now, this woman specifically, of course, it's not her fault. She's not able to change it. From what I understood, she got it from cancer or something. So obviously she can't do anything about that. But I do know women who had this voice and changed it. There are women out there who do have this voice and they don't realize it and are able to change it. But then again, there's also women who can't.
Thick skin to the point where those sort of comments do not affect your life, do not affect you whatsoever in any way. And you just rise above that sort of stuff because honestly, you give them the reaction they want.
Now, after hearing that voice, anyone who hears that voice will automatically assume that this woman is a lot more manly. She probably behaves more like a manly, those manly feminists. This woman, unfortunately, has a certain condition where she can't change her voice. But I do remember years ago, I had a friend who had a voice like this, even lower than what you're hearing. And she went to classes, I can't remember what exactly it is, but she really wanted to start with singing, and then she started they taught her to change her voice tone and everything like that. And her voice is a lot higher than this now. So there are women who speak like that and are able to change it. And then unfortunately, there's also women who are not able to change that.
Back with Britney Spears, Baby One More Time is the CD. Phenomenally successful, and you have yet to enter your senior year of high school. That's a pretty big accomplishment for a little kid. All right, now let's talk about the Nickelodeon Awards. Listen, I'm 37. How old are you?
I'm 17.
I'm old enough to be your mother. I don't want to see you in that shirt again.
Now, when we hear that voice, there's nothing really wrong with it. It's like, if I were to hear that voice, automatically I'm going to assume that this is someone who's going to be funny. Someone who's going to be fun to be around with. But it's not seductive. It's not sexy. No guy is going to want to hear that voice and be like, oh, that's so hot. Like, wow, what a voice. The voice just sounds fun. She sounds like she's fun. She sounds like she's going to be funny. But definitely not sexy. Definitely not seductive. So that's also a voice that we don't want to have, because that voice, a lot of women have that kind of voice. And if I were to hear it, if I was on Love is Blind and I was to hear that voice, I'm going to assume that this is like a big girl, like a woman who has weight. I don't know why a lot of women who do have weight on them do sound like this. It's just not, it's not seductive. And a woman, even a woman who's bigger, can have a very seductive voice. I know women who have a little bit of weight on them and they sound very seductive. Even like they just have a much nicer voice tone than I do. And you know, and I'm petite. So again, it can be worked on, it can be changed. Now we're gonna go over a list of women who do have very feminine voices, very seductive voices, and you do have to play around with your voice. You do have to figure out what makes your voice seductive, because with this list that I'm going to show you, it's for higher tone and lower tone. So you need to figure out what works for you. For me, to get the most out of men, my voice needs to get higher and I need to sound excited. But for other women, if they do have a higher tone and they do sound a little too excited, it won't work for them. It might seem off, like they're being fake. It might sound a little cringe. So they might have to lower their tone and be more seductive, which I'll show an example as well.
You've got the wrong idea about me, Mr. Valiant. I'm a pawn in this, just like Roger. Can you help me find him? Just name your price, and I'll pay it.
Yeah, I bet you would. You gotta have the rabbits to make the scam work.
No, I love my husband. You've got me all wrong. You don't know how hard it is being a woman looking the way I do.
Yeah, well.
So here is a great example. You notice how she's not, her voice tone is not high. She doesn't sound like she's too excited. It's very deep, controlled, seductive, and intoxicating too, because really just the way she's talking, she sounds like she's ready to, sleep with the guy. She sounds like she's really into him. She sounds like she just can't help herself. Like he's just, really turning her on. And this men love, the best way to control them, the best way to get anything out of them is to make it sound like you just can't control yourself, like he really got you.
With those eyebrows. Yes, like a sleek, dangerous animal. But such a lonely one.
Oh, my child, it is my lot to be lonely.
But must it always be so?
Must. Darling, if you could only Where's that music coming?
Oh, never mind, darling. It's just that Hungarian accent.
Now, Marilyn's voice is a lot higher, and if you watch her other, other videos of her speaking, you can hear the more exciting tone as well from her. But the thing about her is that she gives this, idea of, look, I'm so interested in you, I can't help myself when I'm around you, I feel like I'm out of control when I'm with you, and she just gives this innocent look, it makes a man want to protect her, it makes a man want to do more for her, it makes a man want to protect her from the predators out there. She just has this innocence to her, and she's very seductive. Her voice is just, this is the thing, is that women find a way to play with their tone and really make it seductive. The idea is to make it sound like when I'm with you, I just can't control myself.
Yeah, you could, but you won't. Because you used that little secret to get where you are right now. It was the only bullet in your chamber, and I am taking your gun away.
You set me up.
You set yourself up, just like you did with Charles Schwarzman. And what I learned from him was once you get something that you want, you will do whatever it takes to keep it. So why don't you go ahead and sign so that we can get out to your goddamn party.
Now, obviously in this video, Jessica Pearson from Suits sounds a little more aggressive compared to the last two women that I just showed you. But the thing about her voice is that her voice is soft. It is very feminine, and it's also authoritative. She conveys this non-aggressive confidence, which men still find very sexy. Again, you can't always pretend like you're this seductive woman, especially when you're at work. You have to know your place. You're not gonna, use that kind of tone when you're at work. You need to be more professional. And if you want to be more professional and still keep it feminine, Jessica Pearson, again, is an amazing example for this situation. When she is angry, when she needs somebody to do their work properly, she knows how to use her voice. She knows how to make it soft, feminine, and yet authoritative. And that is what a woman needs. You don't want to be that woman who gets to work and all of a sudden you start yelling, swearing, talking like a man, you want to still keep it feminine, but yet authoritative. You need to know how to speak when someone crosses your line. and how to keep it feminine still. And I think Jessica Pearson in this situation did a great job. And this again could be a voice tone that you use when maybe a man starts thinking he can play with you, or when he starts overstepping your boundaries. You can't always be seductive and be like, oh, I'm so into you, especially when someone's crossing the line.
Now, but I do have an apartment here, a bed that I own here in LA, and I have a bed that I own in New York. Between that, I'm just living in other people's beds and other hotel beds and traveling all over the world. I'm about to go on tour.
That's exciting.
And so I'll be in a tour bus bed.
That's exciting.
Now, Rihanna's tone is also very nice and very feminine. She definitely gives this vibe of power. She's very chill, young, fun, and still makes it look exotic and seductive. Now, this voice tone, again, I would be careful with when you use it, because it will attract a lot of pick-me men and men who want your money, because, again, the way she talks and everything, you can tell she's very confident, and even if she doesn't know what she's talking about, it will make you believe that she knows what she's talking about, because of the way she's sitting down, the way she's smiling, the way she's looking, the way she's talking. It just shows a lot of confidence. It's a good thing. The only bad thing is that men will look at that and will assume that she's an independent woman. It's seductive, it's very sexy, her voice, I'm not saying it's not, but there's a high chance that you will attract the wrong men with that kind of voice, because men who need help, men who, don't have their ish together, men who are broke, they're very attracted to this kind of voice. Unless you really like femdom and all that stuff, where you're the dominant woman and you like a man who buys everything. I made a video on this, on the findom. Sorry, it's not femdom, findom. So if you're about that, this kind of voice is also perfect, because they love these kind of women. So of course, as we know that there's been studies, and men prefer women with higher voices, softer voices, feminine voices. And the reason is because they just are more, people who come with that kind of voice tone just seem more gentle and nurturing, more mother material. A woman who has a higher voice is just, you feel like she's younger. Higher voices are more associated towards younger people, and lower voices are more associated towards older women. And when she has a higher voice tone, you just assume that she's much younger and she's able to, have children. That's kind of what makes men more attracted to that, is the fact that she's young and she's able to bear children. And when someone's older, she can't do that. And you know how they say when some woman gets older, she gets more bitter, she gets more angry and all that stuff. And that's why higher voice tones are just considered to be more attractive. Us women, we were born to be actresses, okay? If you don't know how to act, you just haven't found your talent yet, because all of us women are great actresses. And the thing about actors and actresses is that they know how to change their voice tone, and that is what you need to learn. Every single person that you get into, you need to decide what voice tone you're going to use on them, how you're going to speak to them. The thing and the problem is that a lot of you women, the way that you talk to your friends is the same way that you talk to a man. If you don't want to be, splitting bills with this guy, and you don't want him to look at you as a roommate or as a friend, then don't speak to him as a roommate or as a friend. You need to speak to him like he's your lover. So, for example, the first two examples that I showed you are great examples on how to speak to a man. These things will get him more excited to, take care of you, want to do more for you, want to impress you, because he thinks he's getting closer to sleeping with you. And it just makes you more seductive, okay? It makes you stay on his mind a lot longer. And that's the goal. You want him to obsess over your voice. Now, when it comes to work, business, friendship, strangers, I'm not saying obviously completely change your voice tone, but you need to know how to still sound feminine and nice, but you're not seduced by them. You get what I mean? So play around with it, and even when you talk to somebody as just a friend, if you can come off as more confident, for example, if you speak like Rihanna, it's gonna make you, it's still gonna make you stay on their mind. It's still gonna make them respect you more. It makes them want to, get to know you more, because you sound confident, you sound like you're fun, you sound like you're chill, and people like that. So I always change my tone, I always change my accent depending on who I talk to. if I feel like I'm in danger, I'm gonna talk very, very aggressively. Like, I can completely change into a man if I need to. And if I speak to a man that I like, and I speak to a man that, like, I know he likes me, I like him, and he wants to impress me, I will, my voice tone will change. I'll be like, oh, I'm so seduced by you. And when I'm speaking to a friend, I'll be more chill, I'll be more confident, So you need to know how to be that actress. You need to know how to change your voice tone, how you're gonna talk to people. And you're gonna start today, okay? As in, you're gonna walk into that office, let's pretend you work in an office, and you decide what voice tone you want. Okay, maybe if you're a worker there, maybe you want to use a higher voice tone. I've noticed when I used to work in the office, having a higher voice tone caused the men to do more for me. It made them help me a lot more. I got a lot more out of them. Whenever I needed a phone call done, they were fast to help me. Whenever I needed some documents, they were fast to help me. So it's a good thing. I mean, if that's what you want, go for it. Maybe if you're a boss, you want to be more, you want to stay on that feminine side, but at the same time, you want to be more, authoritative. So you also need to know how to play with that. If you have a man and maybe you talk to him like as a friend and you want to, change it and make it seem more like, oh, I'm so seduced by you, do it. And people will ask you, they're going to be like, what happened to you? Why is your voice changed like that? Like, why do you do that? Pretend like you don't know what they're talking about. Like, you don't need to answer and be like, I don't know what you're talking about. I've always talked like this. And eventually they're just going to get used to it. You know what I mean? And you'll notice that it gets you a lot. You'll notice that people will want to help you more. You'll notice that people, respect you more. People will want to do for you more. Like, truly, your voice tone does matter. I've noticed people doing the most for me simply based off my voice. I've noticed people respecting me more based off my voice. I've noticed people wanting to, listen to what I have to say more based off my voice. Like, your voice really does do a lot, especially with the men in your life. Anyways, I think I've said everything that needs to be said. If you enjoy this content and you would like to support this channel by making a donation, the link is down below. Thank you all for supporting this channel. If there's anything else that I could possibly add on, fix, talk about, definitely let me know. And yeah, love you all.